Captain, United States Navy, arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General James F. Glenn, Deputy Commandant for Manpower and Reserve Affairs.
We decide whether. Can you guys hear me in the back all right? So if I wander a little bit, you're going to be all right? Let me start by just saying thanks. Thanks to Naval Special Warfare Command. I know they got a lot going on this morning. We were just chatting about it, but just to the side boys, to the bosun, there's a lot of folks, right, that did a lot of work to make this happen today. And I don't want to let the day escape. For me, it's great to come back to NSW. The place feels like home. I've been here enough times, and I'll tell you a couple stories maybe along the way that'll explain why. Because some of you might wonder, what are they thinking? Why would they let a Marine come do the retirement of a Naval Special Warfare captain? Like, he must be out of his mind. And well, you're all here. You already know he is. So I don't have to explain that for you. But just thanks to NSW, the entire team, everybody that participated in making this happen. It might sound like a joke when I start it, but a soldier, a Marine, and a sailor walk into a stale conference room on a base that's been bracked. For those of you who knew what base realignment and closure was, walk into a conference room and now you're waiting for the punchline, and they're like the 30th, 31st, and 32nd servicemen and women to check into this command that didn't exist, Special Operations Command Africa, and that's how we became acquainted. In a room of what was basically a trailer that was supposed to have been closed and given away. It was probably spewing black mold and who knows what kind of else. So we upgraded our standard of living to a general purpose tent in Stuttgart, Germany through the winter, where we started every morning filling sandbags to keep the melting snow from coming into our workspace. And that just, what do SEALs and Marines have in common? The more it sucks, the more we like it. And that's where the bond began, some 15 years ago. But that's it for Natalia and Gabriel and Andrew. I mean, it's an absolute thrill for me to have an opportunity to do this and to make it official, right? Some 30 plus years later. You're facing the crowd too. It's a kaleidoscope of life up until this point that you're going to have to contend with when you take the mic. But I certainly want to welcome. We got Dad and Linda in from Minnesota, right? There's a whole blending of periods of chapters of life here. We got Aunt Pauline in from Arizona. Jason and Hannah are local, right? So it's brothers. We got that crowd around, and then as I was trying to piece together the crowd, so there's the family side. On the friends side, we got folks that go all the way back to Minnesota, youth days, where we can get some good stories later. We got the Northern Arizona Pike fraternity crowd, which is what could go wrong with that at a little while. I mean, no risk there. What do we got? I know we got probably some folks, early Navy days. This thing started in '92 on a ship before you went to be a Naval Gunfire Liaison Officer at 1st Marine Division. And then just the whole NSW, the whole NSW experience from that point on. I know there's some of the faculty and students from USD. We're 2 steps away from or 1 step, several days, months here away from a PhD in organizational leadership, and then some business partners. Right, I was chatting with folks that tried this, things that are what the next chapter is going to be. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So welcome to all of you. It's not Minnesota. Is what you've picked up on so far. Thank goodness. At this point in the year, it is what a journey, right? A journey of a lot of trust, for a family of faith, right? It's right there, front and center, family faith, and Chap said it best, right? It's guided you along the way, and I know for the Pence family, it's always been a matter of making the most of the moment and appreciating that things happen for a reason, and that, you know, someone's guiding the way. We just got to roll with the punches. So it's a real thrill to be with the whole family. Like I mentioned, 1992, this uniform journey began. Today it ends. We hang it up, you know, this chapter of it. But the uniform journey began in 1992 as a surface warfare officer, with some ideas of what the future may hold. And, you know, who'd have known that a kid from Minnesota with a liberal arts degree from Northern Arizona University, who along the way would get a master's, from King's College, right? I mean, who'd have thought that was possible, let alone a PhD from the University of San Diego? Like, how all that would come together, right? Dad was chatting about this a few moments ago. But in a lot of sense, as Natalia and I were reflecting, it's gone. It goes, as it typically does, so quickly, right? What started out as a SEAL platoon commander and a special delivery team commander, right, back in the very early days, and then became an XO of a special boat team, right, which contributed. I won't notice there aren't any medical doctors here today. Although he has, I won't quote. I'll let him tell you that side of the story, right? That's another part of the chapters of life, particularly as the XO of a special boat team, right? Many of the lower back woes we'll speak to today. But the special boat team, and then that time I mentioned in Stuttgart. In Stuttgart, when a theater special operations command doesn't exist and you got to create one, it's for those of you that come from the business world, it's kind of like being a startup. There's 30 of you, and you're doing the best you can with what you got, and you're just trying to gain more momentum, you know, put into place processes, procedures, adopt best practices, call in friends from other entities and agencies, and that's you. I mean, you're the folks that when we were just trying to figure it out, when you know, they put a Marine in charge of strategy for a TSOC and give this guy as his sidekick, you know, you're in trouble. That's the first thing that our TSOC commander knew. You're like, you're in trouble, because we just endless supplies of good ideas that we just needed resourced, and somehow he turned that into the director of sensitive and clandestine operations, which would play, you know, pivotally in future roles when he's the CO of SRT2, the Special Reconnaissance element at SRT2, right? So it all came home to roost. I probably made a mistake. For those of you that are some of his PhD colleagues, we're looking back on it. I fed the beast when, before design, operational design and design thinking was even vogue. But when we became acquainted with a gentleman from Israel who really introduced it, and we were trying to get our head around some of the tougher problems in Africa. And I thought it might be a good idea to send this guy to really invest in understanding design thinking and bring it back to our unit so we could apply it. And I did get a chart, you know, as a result of many, many weeks of temporary duty in Tampa, Florida, right? Which start some images for those of you who have been there really start to come together what really went on. I did get a chart out of that explained to me, you know, for example, what's going on in Sudan today, you know, why some of the things we were considering we might want to do, their water interests and fuel interests, you know, the Chinese, even, and this is back in, you know, what 2008, 2009 timeframe, the Chinese had interest there. I'm like, well, maybe this is a good investment. Maybe this is time well spent. I think I'll send them back for kind of phase 2. You know, only to come visit him. And he's like, man, I got to show you this all-you-can-eat sushi. And then I realized where my money was really going. What was I really learning? Like, if we could just put this chart together, we'll justify why you sent me here. But like, what did I really get out of this? So for those of you that are, you know, in the PhD program alongside, I own some of this beast we created, right? Feeding this idea. But that was the Stuttgart time, and from that point on, whether it was in Virginia Beach, right, at SRT, whether it was in Hawaii when he was the director of operations for another TSOC, SOC-PAC, which was much more mature than the one we went to, or here as the director of strategy, While the stories are different, the antics are the same. I mean, we even in Afghanistan, when he was on the staff in Afghanistan and I came for a visit, we would spend a night together, just out, in one of the, for those of you that have been there, just out in one of the common areas, just catching up, like picking up right where you left off the last time the conversation ended, even though it might have been interrupted by months or years, just picking up again. And so what I've learned from talking to SEALs and folks that serve with him outside of his all-you-can-eat sushi days is that are the same things that I came to appreciate back in 2008 when we became acquainted, right? In Andrew Pence, in the Pence family, what you have, first and foremost, is somebody who really cares. Like, cares about the mission, yeah, absolutely, 100%, is going to make sure it gets done. Cares about how hard people work to get it done, and is going to make sure that he carries that load as much, probably greater than most on a team. That's common throughout the entire community of NSW and the Marine Corps, for that matter. But really, what makes a difference to me as a family, and why we've spent nights on my couch when he was going to school in D.C. as a geo bachelor, but coming over on the weekends, and he and I teaming up to try and beat my 15-year-old son, in Xbox, and losing, by the way, the two of us to him. Caring about the people more than anything else, right? And I was just reflecting with Natalia. I mean, this plays through the whole family. You set the tone. I'm sure it's throughout the whole family. When our daughter was trying to find her way, out of college into a job, it was Natalia that leveraged her network to find her an internship that has now got her at Georgetown getting her master's degree and doing great public relations work. So, well, Andrew gets a lot of the credit today. Natalia and Gabriel have been the enabler and the inspirers of all this, right? And I think all of us, I certainly, so, you won't forget, but I don't want to screw it up and say thanks to both of you for what you've meant, not just to Andrew and the family and making this whole thing work through 25 years together, 30 plus years as a SEAL, as a sailor, but just really being an inspiration and an example for the rest of us, and how when it's hard, you can still make it fun, right? And I think you two have really contributed that in an immense way. The other thing is, and the jiu-jitsu crowd knows this back here, right? This dude is not going to quit. Like, even when it's stupid and you should stop, right? It's not going to happen. And so, again, going back all the way back to the Stuttgart days, as hard as we work, there's a lot of great opportunities. Lots of snowboard excursions, hiking excursions, getting ourselves into situations where mildly concerned, are we going to get out of this? And if we don't, is anybody going to know, and when will they care? Right? And he's like, no, man, let's just keep going. That started, well, it probably started long before this point, right out here in the water out here. But many of you know exactly where that come from and what's fed it over time. So, when you wrap all that together, it's not surprising to me that these last couple of years as the Director of Strategy here at Naval Special Warfare Command have been so impactful and an amazing time for the entire Special Operations community, NSW in particular. So what's the future hold, right? I mean, today we'll wrap up the ribbons and put the medals in a shadow box and accompany it with the colors of the United States of America, and forever they'll hang. Always a memory of what all of you, all of us have meant and contributed over this time. But it's just a chapter. It's just a chapter. The next chapter, right? You've been molding this thing for years, all the way back to the sushi days, right? Putting it all together with the PhD and the business partners and this tri-discipline, book that he's probably going to come up here and force you to buy in a minute, and then the enterprise that it's poised to become, in standard Andrew Pence format. He sent an advance party ahead, right? Let's get Gabriel. Let's tell us what a Montana winter's actually like, and then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to join you all there. I'll decide if this is actually going to work. I'm going to come up there for 2 weeks, spend the holidays, feel what minus 60 feels like, and then maybe we'll undertake. I think it's a full speed ahead, buddy. I mean, you're calling the shots. but I think that's where this thing's going. But it's just really exciting, right? The future is really exciting. While the uniform comes off, the friendships continue, and the relationships continue. And I just know, for me, on behalf of all these folks, I get the mic before you do. I just want to say thanks for so many memories, so many intentional ones that we created together on purpose, but so many unintended ones, the ones that went unspoken in the moment, but that you always knew that next to you, you had a guy and a brother and a son and a husband and a father and a teammate and you name it. As a student, you had somebody next to you, you have somebody next to you going forward who always had your back and had your best interest in mind and would sacrifice his own comfort, his own whatever, his own time to ensure that your priority came first. And so it's an absolute honor and absolute thrill for the Pence crew to invite me to do this. And I'm pleased to have had the mic for a few moments and look forward to having the rest of the day to share with all of you. Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise? Captain Pence, General Glenn, will you please step forward? Attention to award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit to Captain Andrew M. Pence, United States Navy, for service set forth in the following: for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service as Assistant Chief of Staff for Strategy, Plans, and Future Capabilities for Commander, Naval Special Warfare Command, from July 2018 to June 2023. Captain Pence displayed extraordinary leadership, initiative, and strategic vision while directing a 26-person team comprised of active duty and civilian personnel. He spearheaded solutions to provide transformational operational concepts by creating a collaborative and innovative environment. He brought together special operations personnel with scientists and engineers to quickly advance technologies for combat applications. His forceful yet inspiring leadership germinated out-of-the-box ideas that he refined into 5 future operating strategic concepts: strategic sabotage, small craft strike warfare, maritime irregular warfare, and direct action next. He directed multiple war games and studies to further illustrate the utility of these 5 operating concepts to demonstrate their value to combatant commanders, informing the execution of over a dozen real-world operations from the Foghorn War Game series. He also leveraged defense labs and research institutions to objectively evaluate new tactics, inform their applicability, promote their development, and better integrate them into the joint force. Captain Pence's superior performance of duties culminated his 31 years of honorable and dedicated military service. By his dynamic direction, keen judgment, and loyal dedication to duty, Captain Pence reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, signed, Director, Navy Staff. Lieutenant General Glenn will now present the Certificate of Retirement. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these present, greeting. This is to certify that Captain Andrew Marcel Pence, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Navy on the 31st day of May, 2023. At this time, will Mrs. Natalia Pence and Gabriel Pence please join Captain Pence on the stage. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. To Natalia Pence, by the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for your unselfish, patriotic, and devoted service during your husband's military career. Your unfailing support and understanding helped immeasurably to make possible his lasting contributions to the nation. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your husband did. He made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States of the Navy thanks you, and I thank you. Given this 28th day of April, Admiral Keith B. Davids, Commander, Naval Special Warfare Command. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. To Gabriel M. Pence. By the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for enduring the frequent and long separations from your father, Andrew, as he served his country. These months, indeed years, that he spent away from you constitute a clear and noble demonstration of his love for you and his family. You see, he left you in order to ensure that you inherited a safer world and a surer peace. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your father did. He made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States of the Navy thanks both you and your father for enduring these separations. Given this 28th day of April, 2023, Admiral Keith B. Davids, Commander, Naval Special Warfare Command. Thank you, Mrs. Pence and Gabriel. Will the guests please be seated? Thank you, General Mike. The command will now present the flag of the United States of America to Mrs. Natalia Pence in appreciation. The command will now present the flag of the United States of America to Mrs. Natalia Pence in appreciation of the sacrifices and challenges she has endured in support of her husband's career. The command will now present the flag of the United States of America to Gabriel Pence in recognition of the encouragement and fortitude that you have demonstrated throughout your father's career. Captain Pence will now be presented with the flag of the United States of America as a token of appreciation for his exceptional leadership and the unwavering honor, courage, and commitment he has shown to the Naval Special Warfare, the United States Navy, and to our nation for the last 31 years. Dr. Dick Hoffman will now make a special presentation to you.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Captain Andrew M. Pence, United States Navy.
Excuse me, sir.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Time, the most finite commodity that any of us possesses, is our time. It's immutable. Despite our station in life, none of us can purchase more of it. Do not take lightly that you've chosen to spend some of yours in attendance today. Many of you have traveled great distances and at great expense to be here today. For that, my family and I sincerely thank you. General Glenn, thank you for your kind words and humor. I'm grateful for you taking time from your demanding schedule and, more importantly, your friendship and mentorship over the last 15 years. You set the standard in all that you do. The Marine Corps, Special Operations community, and the nation are fortunate to call you a general. I'm fortunate to call you a friend. This morning, I plan to use my remarks in two ways. First, for the purpose of recognition and gratitude to my Lord, my many family, friends, colleagues, and teammates who have been my source of inspiration and encouragement over the last 30 years, many of which are sitting here this morning. And second, more briefly, to discuss my views on the concept of service. However, before getting started, I'd like to thank all those who assisted in the planning, coordination, and execution of this event, including, but not limited to, the color guard, side boys, escorts, chaplain, and master of ceremonies. With special thanks to Major Rob James, who was the lead officer in pulling everything together. An experienced Army logistician, it's no surprise that he did this with apparent ease and expertise. Again, my sincere thanks to you all. I'd like to begin my remarks by recognizing our military guests in attendance. Welcome Commodores, Commanding Officers, Command Master Chiefs, both past and present, senior officers and NCOs, government civilian leaders, uniformed teammates, and veterans. In my mind, military retirement ceremonies are less about recognizing the retiree and far more about the retiree recognizing the people that encouraged, supported, and made sacrifices on their behalf over the course of their career. First and foremost, the families, particularly during times of conflict. Anyone who has been close to a military service member knows that the last 20 years come with great cost. Time away from life milestones, emotional strains that are all too frequently don't get left in the team room, but rather follow the member home, becoming imbued in every aspect of their personality and life. And, most tragically, the loss of selfless and brave teammates. Equally important are the costs to teammates who have returned home and continue to endure the invisible wounds that frequently accompany combat. These wounds are real, and we see the sobering results all too often. And of course, let us never forget our Gold Star families, who continue to endure and thrive despite great personal sacrifices. However, with many life's challenges, there are often accompanying virtues. These virtues can provide comfort, strength, and give balance to our lives. One virtue that is commonly found in military families is resilience. While discipline and planning are effective tools in reducing hardships, they will never mitigate all of them. In those instances, it is resilience that gets us to the other side. That being said, this provides an ideal segue to recognize and thank my beautiful, talented, and resilient wife, Natalia. We met shortly before SEAL training, where she got an early and up-close view of the rigors of NSW. Yet despite the demands over many years, she was never deterred, recognizing the needs of the nation and the necessity to protect it. Like many military spouses, she repeatedly dealt with lengthy separations while solely contending with the responsibility of two parents. I will forever be grateful for your love, commitment, and the challenges you endured while being married to the teams. You've been an exceptional mother to our young son, Gabriel, always holding down the home front when I was away, teaching him life lessons that I was responsible for, and serving as a center of gravity for our family. Thank you, and I love you. To my son, Gabriel, I couldn't be more blessed as a father to have such a kind, disciplined, and wonderful son. You make your mother and I very proud. You are quickly becoming a young man and are already on a trajectory for success, whether that's in school, sports, or simply being a good friend and protector of others. Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
To my broader family, beginning with my father Roger and his companion Linda. Dad, you inspired me as a young man, imbued in me a sense of service. As a former sailor and career police officer, you gave me the necessary attributes to step forward and serve a higher purpose. Raising Jason and I as a single father was no small task. 3 alpha personalities under the roof was not without headache or hardship. Your tough love kept us on the straight and narrow, and your encouragement over the years has always been unwavering. Thank you, Dad. I love you. To my brother Jason and his companion Hannah, as a former sailor, you too volunteered and put on the uniform. And although often at great geographic distances over the years, you were always supportive, encouraging, and served as a trusted confidant in all things. I'm proud of the man you become, and I'm fortunate to be able to call you brother. Love you. My dear Aunt Pauline, you've always been a constant source of inspiration, strength, and encouragement. As a career nurse, you too value the principle of service. The passing of our mother, Anna, at a young age, grew up to serve as the matriarch of the family. Keeping all 3 of us men in mind. Thank you. I love you. Blessed to have such an exceptional cohort of friends here today. Some dating back to my childhood and adolescence in Minnesota, others from college in Arizona, some that developed while in the teams or living abroad, and others who I've come to know and care greatly about more recently, to include business colleagues, coaching mentors, professors, classmates, and my jiu-jitsu teammates who run me through the ringer on most mornings. Additionally, but more somberly, I'm grateful for the family and friends that have gone to be with the Lord, and who look down on each of us daily, providing subtle guidance and protection. Guardian angels, or as real as any of us here today. Life is about relationships and the people who we choose to spend time with. As an example, friendships are a choice. That's what makes them unique and special. There are no obligations apart what is expected between 2 individuals. Respect, kindness, and trust. All of you have made my life richer in so many ways, and I'm grateful to have you part of it. To my NSW teammates, who I've spent almost my entire adult life alongside, I'm forever indebted for your leadership, mentorship, and friendship. If you were to ask any career SEAL if they'd ever consider leaving the Navy early and why, I would wager that most would say yes. The most common reason I've found is a result of one's tactical career sunsetting. In other words, a point in time which they are no longer in the field as a member of a SEAL platoon. The transition from tactical operator to an operational leader is difficult, but it's inevitable. It's the natural progression for both SEAL officers and NCOs. The reason I bring this up is because I too wrestled with this transition. Ultimately, the singular reason that compelled me to stay was the quality of the people I was surrounded by. You all. I recognize that NSW and the broader special operations community was filled with some of the best people and leaders in the world. And while wanting to continue to serve the nation, I also recognized that I had a front row seat to witness and be mentored by many of these same leaders, some of which are in the audience today. Many years have passed since that time of deep introspection, and I'm grateful that the Lord gave me the wisdom to recognize how fortunate I was, and ultimately choose to stay. Now I'd like to pivot and take a few minutes to speak about the principle of service to our country and our fellow citizens. I want to first address my NSW teammates. NSW represents one of the most respected organizations in the nation. The reason it continues to be held in such high regard is due to all of you and those who are in our larger formation. The level of professionalism, commitment, and sense of duty is unmatched. Whether in uniform or not, your contributions to the nation's defense continue to be essential. I've been blessed these last 4 years to work with a team of strategists, planners, doctrine and wargaming experts who are tirelessly committed to ensuring NSW stays in front of our adversaries through innovations in the employment of our force, the adoption of groundbreaking technologies, and the identification, exploitation of our adversaries' vulnerabilities. This incredibly diverse group of professionals have made my final assignment at NSW incredibly rewarding. I'm proud of the work they continue to accomplish. Of note, I'd like to highlight my former deputy, Dr. Dick Hoffman, and thank him for his partnership, assistance, and mentorship these last few years. To the entire N5 team, thank you for your friendship and all that you do. For the last 20 years, NSW has answered the nation's call. And as discussed earlier, often at great consequence. However, that has not deterred our force or others like it. Communities continues to adapt, improve, and push the limits of what's possible in the realm of special operations, while adhering to the ethos of quiet professionals. Humility continues to serve as our keel, keeping us on course even through the most turbulent waters. Every day, NSW is conducting some of the nation's most dangerous missions, which, if done well, will never see the light of day in the public domain. Unfortunately, as history has so often reminded us, peace is both fragile and transient. As the great European general and historian Thucydides stated, peace is only an armistice in an endless war. Sadly, the season of peace will at some point end, and a call to arms will come again. As President Kennedy stated, it is an unfortunate fact that we can only secure peace by preparing for war. Regardless of when that call comes, the nation can be confident that the brave men and women of NSW have been preparing for that inevitable call, and will answer it again as they always have. Up until this point, I've been discussing the concept of service largely in a military context, but it is so much more than that. Service, in my mind, constitutes any selfless contribution to our nation or its citizens. As the immortal boxer Muhammad Ali once said, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Service manifests in a myriad of ways, and it is all essential. From the safe, selfless, and brave efforts of our first responders, to the compassionate efforts of social workers and medical professionals, from teachers, coaches, and clergy, to investors and entrepreneurs that create jobs so families can sustain themselves in our American way of life. There are almost an endless number of ways to serve the great nation which we've been afforded. As I look at this audience, I know that the idea of service is imbued in each of you, or you would not be here. For that reason, I want to acknowledge and thank all of you for your own personal contributions, many of which will go out without recognition, fanfare, or formal ceremonies. Furthermore, I would encourage each of you to continue to be leaders in your own unique way and inspire others to do the same. At a time when our country is far too divided, the concept of service is something that can unify all of us. Service evolved to mend the wounds of cultural discord. In closing, as my family and I embark on Chapter 2, we will continue to look to serve, albeit in a different capacity. It takes strength and inspiration from all of you. look to emulate many of your good works. Lastly, before we conclude this ceremony, I want to recognize and apologize ahead of time that in the coming day or so, that I will not be able to spend nearly the amount of time with each of you that I would like. However, despite this fact, please know that I could not be more grateful and feel more blessed to have each of you present on this occasion. Fair winds and following seas. God bless you all. God bless America.
1992. In the month of September, so long ago, we can hardly remember. A career that today has come to an end began for this SEAL and dependable friend. At a moment like this, we would all be remiss did we not reminisce about things that we'll miss. His time in the Navy is an exceptional story, with exploits and effort much covered in glory. After morning fight training, he could be accused of appearing at work both battered and bruised. But as SEAL senior strategist, he'd work all day long, then head back to the gym to stay fighting shape strong. And then in the evening, in spare time that's free, he'd go out and get yet another degree. Organizational leadership is the next PhD. Despite surface Navy success for more than a year, he moved on to the SEALs for his remaining career. There he did every job that a frogman could do, and for the most part, did it better than you. He was like other SEALs, just a bit better fighter, a little bit stronger, and a little bit brighter. His reticent demeanor, soft-spoken, somber, and staid, could be powerfully quiet to sway or persuade. And then, on occasion, under deep-furrowed brow, a grin might leak out, or a smile allow. Among many ideas, with 4-star approbation, small craft strike warfare was a novel creation. With 4 other concepts, it was the critical foundation of the framework for maritime SOF operation. His head's full of thoughts, but as you are aware, should you gaze up on top, there's not much else there. There's no hair to care for, not one hair to see. Hair care product savings, no doubt there must be. This allowed him to buy the biggest big truck, so he drives ever noticed but never gets stuck. And now that it's over, these 30+ years of service and toil, it sadly appears he'll take lovely Natalia and Gabriel and go off to Montana with mountains and snow. Less concerned now about Afghanistan, China, Ukraine, new frontiers and new conquests he now will attain. A sad day for the Navy, for the SEALs, a great loss. In Special Warfare N5, we've lost a very good boss. We wish you the best as your big truck you drive to your home in Montana, where you'll live and you'll thrive. As you move to the mountains and far from our coast. For this Frogman Emeritus, we offer this toast. When you're high in the sky, may your parachute inflate. When you're diving at night, may you ever swim straight. When it comes time to shoot, may your bullets fly true. When it's time for a beer, we hope it's with you.
Post aside, boys.
For 20 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this shipmate stood the watch. In those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this shipmate stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times, but he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for 20 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch.
Today, we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved, relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Shipmate, you stand relieved. We have the watch. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Shipmate going to shore.
Aye, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the going ashore, we're going to present some gifts that Captain Pence would like to present to his family. Captain Pence. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Chaplain Atkins will now provide the benediction for today's ceremony.
Let us pray. We thank you for this time of celebration and remembrance of the achievements of Captain Pence over the last 3 decades of his faithful service. And now we ask, O God, that you would continue to grant him health and safety as he takes on new responsibilities and faces new opportunities. We pray for he and Natalia, that you would lead them on into the next chapter of your plans for them, just as you have brought them faithfully to this point. And now we ask that you would bless him as he transitions to new things. Be gracious to him, O God, in these coming days, and to all those whom he holds dear, especially Natalia and Gabriel. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Mission granted.
Strike 4 bells. Captain Andrew Pence, United States Navy, retired, departing. Strike 4 bells. Captain, United States Navy, and Navy family, retired, departing.